My name is Christina Andrews, and it is June 11th, 2014. And I'm here going to give an update of what took place at our June 7th, last Saturday, our June 7th meeting here at the HiaCed District office. We had about 20 people who did show up, and one of the major point of discussion, which actually went to 4 hours, was a discussion of this recently passed resolution 14-240, which was passed, and I'm looking over here at the calendar right now, it was passed on June 5th, 2014. And in this resolution, it basically talks about the fact of placing a moratorium on HiaCed regional references. And so what does that mean? What it means is that right now the nation, through this resolution, and it was voted on by the Ordinance Legislative Council, is to put a hold on anyone transferring into the district. The reason that may come to mind is why? Why are they doing this? And the only paragraph that they had as to why they're doing this was the last paragraph of the second page, which just states, whereas extensive concerns have been raised over the organization and governance of the HiaCed District, the existing district government's ability to achieve the original goals of the creation of a HiaCed land base and a local government representing the HiaCed O'odham, enumeration identifying the HiaCed O'odham descendants or persons which HiaCed O'odham lineage and other issues. With HiaCed O'odham lineage and other issues. So what this means is that they're saying that because they have concerns. Again, we don't know what those concerns are, but they do mention about the inability of this district to achieve the original goals of the creation ordinance. The question comes into, we were never given a set of goals that the HiaCed District needed to accomplish or achieve when we entered and became a functioning district. So these actual ones about the creation of the HiaCed land base and enumeration of HiaCed O'odham descendants, these actually were the goals of the HiaCed O'odham program, not a district. It is up to the HiaCed District Council to make the decision of what its goals are. And at this time, we are fulfilling and finalizing a 5-year strategic plan of what the current council deems as important as its goals. So this is concerning that they're placing something of goals in this resolution to put a moratorium, and yet the district was never afforded what goals are they talking about. Second, the other issue here is about the HiaCed O'odham descendants. With the creation of the HiaCed District, or the creation of the HiaCed District Ordinance, it was very clear to us as the HiaCed O'odham Committee that, and I quote it here, it quotes here in that particular ordinance that, quote, an enrolled member of the O'odham Nation who has already been assigned an enrollment number may change the member's regional reference, unquote. This was a creation, in the creation ordinance, the current one, which was assigned by the nation. So it's contradicting in that second whereas on the second page, because it's saying that in the creation ordinance, it's any O'odham Nation's member which can transfer, but in the last whereas of the same page, it says that there was this goal saying that only HiaCed O'odham members can transfer. In fact, the first of the second whereas, where it talks about a O'odham Nation's member can transfer into the district, that was from the nation who gave us that order. So it's very contradicting in that regard. Second, or third, the other thing regarding this resolution and what was discussed in the 4-hour conversation on last Saturday was a fact, and I'm going to read this if that's okay. It's the now therefore be it resolved clause. It says, now therefore be it resolved by the O'odham Legislative Council that the Domestic Affairs Committee and Rules Committee are directed to evaluate structure of the HiaCed Creation Ordinance and recommend additional necessary changes to the Legislative Council. So what that's saying is that now we have a moratorium on the district, and mind you, the district has no bearing on who becomes a member of this district. That's the decision of the enrollment office. It is not the decision of the district. So why are we being brought into this question in the first place? The thing is that now they're having the Domestic Affairs Committee and the Rules Committee make a decision on the current creation ordinance as to whether or not more legislation needs to be passed. This is concerning because in a May 9th letter from Ethel Garcia, it was very clear, who's the chairwoman of the Budget and Finance. It's very clear in her comment, in her letter, where she says that if we do not stop our litigation, then the TOLC, the Tohono O'odham Legislative Council, will have to pass legislation to amend the creation ordinance. And with their tactic that took place on the 5th of June, that's exactly what the Tohono O'odham Legislative Council has done. They have already amended legislation against the creation of the HiaCed district. And not only that, now these two committees are tasked to see whether or not and recommend any necessary changes to the Legislative Council. This is concerning to us, and this was also discussed at the Saturday's meeting, because the Domestic Affairs Committee is made up of Michael Flores, who is a HiaCed District Council legislative rep, who was one of the ones who has placed us in this situation, along with Lorraine Eiler. But the Domestic Affairs Committee, Michael Flores, Ethel Garcia, who is on Budget and Finance, Barbara Javier, who is on Budget and Finance, Pamela Ankill, who's on Budget and Finance. You have Lucinda Allen and Bellman Lopez and Grace Manuel. On the Rules Committee, you have Lorraine Eiler, along with Michael Flores, are our HiaCed district reps, who did not even inform the district of the passing or even the discussion behind the 14-240. So we didn't even know about this until the day it was being voted on. So our legislative reps, again, do not have the best interest of this district in mind. So with the Rules Committee, you have Lorraine Eiler, you have who is the vice chairwoman, you have Mary Lopez, Loretta Lewis, Hilarion Campus, and Pamela Ankill. So what we've noticed in these two committees that are going to be making these recommendations to change, what we notice is that we have 4 of the individuals on these two committees are from the Budget and Finance, and that's the very committee who has issues with us. And then Michael and Lorraine as well, who are our legislative reps, who had a letter of no confidence among them for what they have done with the illegal search and seizure that took place in January 13th, 2014. So we have concerns about these two committees that are now going to be making recommendations on additional changes to this particular creation ordinance. Now, the main thing, the take-home message here, if you want to say, is now they've added another section, and this is a section 1111, and it says chapter not servable. And I'm going to read it to you, and then I'll try to phrase what it means because it's very significant. We have, notwithstanding 1 Tohono O'odham Code Chapter 1, the provisions of this chapter are not severable, and if any word, clause, phrase, sentence, subsection, section, or other provision, or its application to any person or circumstances held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the entire chapter shall be invalid. So what this means then, in the interpretation of this, is that if we decide as a district to go in front of a court of competent jurisdiction and try to refute this, and they find any kind of word or sentence as being invalid, then the whole creation of this district now is invalid. So I just wanted to point that out. Right now, this particular legislation or resolution that we found out this morning, it was delivered to the chairman for signature on Monday, and it still has not been signed or has not come out whether or not he's going to veto it or whether or not he is going to sign it. I know that I have made several attempts in an email in hopes of asking him to please consider not signing it, as this doesn't make sense in terms of it's not in the benefit of the Tohono O'odham Nation's member at large. It seems like it penalizes the Tohono O'odham Nation's members, as opposed to by not allowing them the choice to transfer into this district, which was the purpose of the creation of the ordinance, the HiaCed district ordinance. And it looks like a number who are able to transfer, who have already transferred, are being penalized right now by not having that ability to transfer their grandchildren, to transfer their own children, and others who have applications to transfer into this district and who want to transfer into this district. It seems to penalize them as opposed to keeping with the whole purpose behind this 3-year window that we have as a district, which ends October 2015, it closes that opportunity. And then the question is, well, what happens next? Now that there's a moratorium, when is it going to be lifted? We don't know that. We don't know what the problem was, and we don't know how that's going to affect that October 2015 deadline as well. So that's in regards to the resolution. And again, this was a 4-hour long discussion at Saturday's meeting. And again, we don't have word whether or not the nation's chairman has vetoed it or not. The other thing which was of discussion is regarding the request, and I know people have said, oh, have you gone to the nation to try to resolve this? And we did talk about the June 6th letter that was given to us by Timothy Joaquin, and he, in this letter, he basically, it's right here, the letter is dated June 6th, and it's what he's saying in this one. We had asked Chairman Joaquin and Vice Chairman Manuel to meet, the Vice Chairman and I, to meet so that we could try to resolve this among ourselves in the spirit of Himmedag, instead of using Western culture to try to resolve an issue that we have among ourselves, but rather to sit down and talk. And if it needed to be that we had our attorneys, then we would have our attorneys there, but we were hoping that we would just have dialogue among ourselves so that we would not have to go and pursue litigation. But in the June 6th letter from Chairman Joaquin of the Legislative Council, he says that, unfortunately, that he and the Vice Chairman are unable to meet at this time. He does believe that this communication should be directed to the Budget and Finance Committee, but that leads to the next issue. So Timothy Joaquin and it looks like Edward Manuel, I don't know if we had asked for a meeting with both of them, and it looks like both of those gentlemen are not able to meet with us. And it leads to the next thing, which is the meeting with the Budget and Finance. So Budget and Finance had sent a letter out on April 25th, and I understand that this particular letter is being blasted all over the community. And what this letter talks about, it talks about the initial findings from review of HiaCed district finances. I think it's very important to note that this is a review, and also to note here that they are evaluating, and it says that the Legislative Budget and Finance Committee is separately evaluating these initial findings. It's not that they have found that there's guilt here. It's not that they found that there was a crime committed here. It's that they're evaluating these. And what's interesting about this, and I'll give you one, it talks about like $17,793 was withdrawn in cash. Well, the thing is, in regards to this, we have responded, and here it is here. We have responded in an 11-page letter here, and we have taken each one of the bullets that they have. There's about 10 bullets here, and we have addressed every single one of them. And mind you, what's interesting is that they're not putting the onus on Councilwoman Marlene Vasquez, who took it upon herself to transfer the funds over to the nation. But here we have the bullets, and you'll see that the bullets of each one of those bullets are here in dark italics, and I've actually highlighted their bullet and I put our response here. Now within each one of these response, there's an exhibit, okay, which supports the decision of the council, and here is our exhibit right here. Exhibit 1, it's 127 pages of nothing but documentation to support the decisions, with minutes, with resolutions, to support why these decisions the HiaCed district made were. And so when I went to hand deliver this and the May 1st meeting with Budget and Finance, I handed this to Chairwoman Ethel Garcia, and she told me no. She says, I don't want to take it. I said, but why? This is your letter, and isn't this you? Don't you have your name here, right here? Ethel Garcia, Barbara Javier? And she says, yes. And I said, well, then this is our response. The council has made a response, the 11 pages, and our 127. In fact, I emailed it to them as well as to all of the Legislative Council. I said, here is our response. And she says, oh, no, no, no. She pushed it away. She said she wasn't going to take it. She says, that's the investigators. And so I'm like, well, you wrote a letter, you made some pretty harsh accusations here, and there's answers to why these decisions were made, and yet you're pushing it away. Well, we then went and hand-delivered it, the signed copy, to the investigator, and the investigator said, wow, what are they trying to do? Throw me under the bus? And so he took a look at them, and he took a look at everything, and he says, well, These are not his. These were not in investigative findings. He says you might take it over to the internal auditor or to the treasurer. And we did. I actually emailed it to the treasurer, and I emailed it to the investigator, the internal auditor of the nation, Pablo Ramirez, and to the treasurer, Frank Espino. And I sent it to them, and I said, here is our response here. And they have it. So they did accept it. At least they did accept it. But what was interesting is that the letter came from Budget and Finance, and Budget and Finance did not even accept the letter that they wrote to. So it's frustrating because we know that we hear that this letter is all over the place, but what's not provided is the fact that there is a response here. So that was actually something that was also written, something that was also discussed on Saturday. Another thing and a final thing that was really an issue here is that now they have a new voter registration form. So the old one that you may have, it doesn't exist. So now, without again discussion with the district, we now have a new voter registration, which is and on the back, and I guess this was a general one made to all of the districts. And it might have been, I understand that we were shut down during the time, but our legislative reps could have easily have told us about this, but we didn't know about it. And so the old HiaCed transfer forms that you guys may have had, don't use them. This is how now the form you're going to have to use in order to register to vote in the district. Registering to vote in the district still exists. You can still do that and become a voter of this district. But you need to make sure that you need to call you can actually call this office, but it says you must submit this application in person or by mail. And this goes to the election office, and their number is 520-383-8709. Again, that's 520-383-8709. And so that's the number that you want to call in order to receive one of these forms, and then also hand deliver it back if you want to become a voter in this district. So at that time, this was pretty much all that we talked about, which was quite lengthy. Our next meeting is going to be held on the Saturday the 21st, 2014, and hope you guys can make it. Thank you.